everyone, welcome to our live session today. I will be going over a quick startup presentation to welcome you all and introduce you to our program and various opportunities if you have not previously attended our shadowing sessions. Pre-Health Shadowing is a student-led, minority-led, women-led nonprofit dedicated to helping prospective healthcare professionals gain access to educational resources no matter their demographic status, ability, or location. My name is I am a member at Pre-Health Shadowing. Thank you all for attending today. Let's get started. Just a little PSA, we do have closed captions for all of our sessions to accommodate all students. This setting is available on the bottom of your Zoom screen. Plus, if you need assistance enabling the transcript, please direct message one of our team members. We are always looking for ways to be more inclusive and ensuring our sessions are accessible to everyone. So please, if you have recommendations for how we can improve, you can email us at info@prehealthshadowing.com. And if you want to stay in a loop with us, make sure to follow us on our Instagram and TikTok. Our handle is Pre-Health Shadowing, and sign up for our email so that you never have to miss any of our shadowing sessions. Since we're an international program, we want to know, where are you Zooming from today? Drop in a chat. I'm currently calling from California. All right. And if you're interested in being part of Pre-Health Shadowing, apart from just joining our shadowing sessions, you can go ahead and volunteer for us. The link is over here. You just can go to our website, www.prehealthshadowing.com/medical-shadowing/volunteer. And we're also taking in team members, so you can also go to www.prehealthshadowing.com/contact/join our team. Here are some of our leadership roles within PHS. We have available roles with the IT department, lead of grants, lead of fundraising, and much more. Again, you can follow us and apply on the Join Our Team section of our website. And if you're a current high school student, you can also be a part of our organization. You can join our high school training program, which is offering leadership plus healthcare education for pre-college learners. That is also found in our Join Our Team tab on our website. And if you're looking to be published, which looks amazing on your resumes and just in general great to get some more experience in the medical field, you can go ahead and publish it using our organization. It can publish articles, reflections, reviews, and success stories. You can submit your writings to prehealthshadowing.com/blog submissions. Now, Pre-Health Shadowing is a nonprofit organization, and we solely run off of our amazing volunteer times and donations that we receive, so we would highly appreciate if you can donate to us. Over here is a QR code. And if you have any questions at any point during this shadowing session, make sure to type it in the chat. Our co-host will ask them during the Q&A. And make sure to take good notes as our shadowing session is about to start. After every shadowing session, if you do not already know and you're new, we do have a 10-question assessment that you'll have to answer in order to earn the credit for being here. And we ask you to kindly turn on your cameras. Let's make this as close to a true shadowing experience as we can. So yeah, please turn on your cameras. Awesome. Let's get started.
Hi, thank you, I am and Nina. So shall I share my screen?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk to you and about my experience. And you know that I'm Monzurul Roni. So already I'm a clinical assistant professor working in University of Illinois College of Medicine. And today I just wanted to talk about my PhD journey, and also before the journey and after the journey, and after that we will do some question answer, right? Okay, so as you can see in my title page, I'm showing you the yellow brick road. So probably if you remember the Wizard of Oz, so and that was a yellow brick road to reach to your destination, right? In that case, it was the Emerald City. For your case, it could be your MD degree or your PharmD degree, whatever degree, or PhD degree, whatever you are pursuing, right? That is your Emerald City. So to reach to your destination, you have to follow a particular road of success, right? Which is a proven road. So that road, when you take, you will be always be reaching to your destination. But sometimes if you don't have anyone to guide you, sometimes you will see that although you wanted to do something, but you couldn't reach the destination, or you wasted your years here or there. So that's why it's very good to talk with people and know from people who have traveled that road. So don't know from them and get some guidance. So how can we quickly reach your destination, right? Okay, so probably you know that currently I'm in Illinois, right, in North America. So, but I was first actually exposed to America as an international student. So I will show you from where I came from. So as you can see, there is a star here around this area in South Asia. So as you can see, this is the area uh, originally I came from. So you can see I flew from there to here. So to can anyone guess what was that area? Is it China? Is it Russia? Is it some Thailand or something? Can anyone guess? You can write it in your chat also. Okay, so I think it's a difficult question. Looks like, so let's give you the right answer. This is Bangladesh. So I was from Bangladesh. So this country is actually just a neighbor country of India. Okay, and nearby we have Myanmar, and actually Bangladesh is a new country. If you can, this is a bigger map of this. So this country was born in 1971, so not long ago, right? So we have been actually part of Pakistan. You see here Pakistan. So earlier we were known as East Pakistan, and this Pakistan was known as West Pakistan. So in 1971, we separated from West Pakistan. Okay, so we became a new nation, so Bangladesh. So the reason we separated that's also an interesting thing, that we actually separated because we wanted our mother tongue or national language to be Bengali. So this is something we fought for. So no other country in this world actually fought or went to war to actually protect their language. So this is something interesting about Bangladesh. So as the name says, Bangla. So Bangla is actually the Bengali. This is a language. Okay. So that's why you can see the letters. These are unique letters, and we actually as I am telling you, you understand that I'm bilingual. So English is my second language. So that's why another interesting thing you can remember, you have heard of Royal Bengal tiger, right? So Royal Bengal tiger actually is coming from Bangladesh. The origin is from Bangladesh. In this Khulna part of this Bangladesh, we have this Royal Bengal tiger. So enough of a little bit my background. So let's move on. So where I studied. So I have studied in Bangladesh in University of Dhaka. So University of Dhaka is actually the largest university in Bangladesh, and Dhaka is the capital of Bangladesh. So I have been actually living in Dhaka before coming to USA. So I have completed my Bachelor of Pharmacy and Masters of Pharmacy from University of Dhaka. Okay, and then after completing actually my Bachelor of Pharmacy, I have taken a job in a generic manufacturer. It's a pharmaceutical industry. Okay, so as a formulation development scientist. So there my job was to actually develop new formulations, like I made formulations for syrup, suspension, capsule, tablet, ointment, whatever, right? So those type of formulations we used to make, I used to make, I actually worked there for about 1 year, and that job was very demanding. Actually, you have to spend a lot of time there, and it was when I started to pursue my master's of pharmacy and also doing this job, it was too much for me, so I had to leave that job. Okay, so I left that job and took another job as a faculty in a State University of Bangladesh. This is another private university where I was teaching pharmaceutical sciences. Okay, so I was there for about 2 years, and from there I actually so from there I moved on to my uh, pursuing my PhD degree. So for preparing for my doctoral studies, actually I have been trying to, since I have been working as a faculty, my goal was to get a doctoral degree, because it's part of the job. As to become a faculty, you should get some higher degree, higher education. So by that time, when I was looking for doctoral programs, I have already published 5 manuscripts, 5 publications from my master's thesis, and also I had some collaborations with other researchers. And I was preparing with completing my GRE and TOEFL, right, since English is my second language. And I have started to contact the professors, different professors who are working in different fields in different countries. I think I contacted different people from like USA, Japan, Belgium. Okay, and finally I applied to maybe 3-4 institutions, because this application process was also a little bit complicated, because I have to submit some applications fees, write statement of purpose, right? So that's why I didn't try to apply in many places. My research interest at that time was drug delivery. So since I have been working as a formulation development scientist, I had some experience with some like quality control or analysis, and also how to deliver the drug, formulation development. So I was thinking that could be another one research area which I can easily start with. Another research area was pharmacology. Okay, so the programs I have been looking for were PhD in pharmaceutical sciences. That was the program I have been trying to get into, right? And during that time, as you can see, I was juggling a lot of things, because I was working as a faculty, and I was like preparing for my GRE, TOEFL, and doing research, publications, doing masters, and also it was like a lot of things. And also I got recently married during that time. So it was like a lot of things going on, right? So during that time, I found that getting the right information and good advice was very crucial. Okay, so one of my friend actually got admitted into in a PhD program of pharmaceutical sciences in Texas Tech. So he gave me some good suggestions and advice that helped me to actually pursue these programs. So finally, what happened that I was, after applications, I was interviewed by 3 institutions, and I also offered 2 fully funded scholarships. Okay, so one was from Japan, it was Asian Youth Fellowship, and another was a graduate teaching assistantship in United States. So now it's good. In case of Japan, the problem was the language barrier. So if I go there, so I have to learn Japanese language. It was part of the deal. So, but then I found that it would be easier for me to start in USA, because I already have some knowledge about English. So right. So that's why I moved to USA in this PhD program in 2009. As you can see, I arrived first in South Dakota. Okay, so South Dakota, as you can see, this is Mount Rushmore. Probably you have seen this figure before. And this is South Dakota State University. This is especially where the health sciences department is located. So I started working with in Dr. Rahman's lab So before coming to actually this PhD program, I have contacted the professor, so I knew that I'll be working with him. But in most of the cases, you can get admission to any PhD program without selecting your supervisor. Okay, you can do some rotation. So after getting admitted and then see different labs, work in different labs for a few days or few weeks, then get the feel of it, so that how actually whether this lab is suitable for you or not, right? So that is also a good option. For me, I actually found Dr. Rahman was working in neuropharmacology and his work interested me. So I showed interest to work with him. So he was also that time looking for a student. So that's why everything matched. So in the first year, I was doing a lot of coursework and was also trying to learn the ropes, right? So actually, because this is a new country for me, a new place, I was trying to figure out also the weather, right? Because South Dakota is really known for cold weather. And also I was trying to survive the winter. So this way, by the time second year came, I had more coursework. I started to do research, right? And I was lucky to publish one paper also. So from the work, so I have been doing, and also presented two posters in national conferences. So far, not a bad start. So the type of research I have been involved in, I will give you just a brief idea. So what I have been involved in. So I was doing some drug addiction research. Okay, in this drug addiction research, our main purpose was to actually establish the role of brain nicotinic acetylcholine receptor in alcohol and nicotine addiction. If you have never heard of these terms, don't worry about it, because this is like a probably new thing for most of you. But I just to make it easy, so this is like one type of protein which are present in our brain. Like here, as you can see, this is a sagittal section of our brain, right? If you cut the brain in a sidewise, you can see this type of section. So in our brain, there are some small proteins. Those proteins are like nicotinic acetylcholine receptors. So those receptors can be important for alcohol addiction or nicotine addiction, right? So if you can use some type of drug or medicine that can stop the activation of this receptor, then it may have some ultimate advantage as a treatment, right? So that was actually our goal, to investigate if we can find any new novel drug or discover any new drug. Okay, so in this figure, I just wanted to show you a little bit like the mesolimbic dopamine pathway. This pathway probably you have heard of. This is also known as reward pathway. Okay, so this pathway, as you can see, this part is known as VTA or ventral tegmental area. Okay, so this is a yellow part, the yellow dot, and this you will see some neurons are projected to another area known as NAC or nucleus accumbens. So what happens here? So when someone takes some type of addictive material like cocaine or say nicotine or alcohol, so this type of addictive substances, when someone takes this, a pathway becomes stimulated. When this pathway becomes stimulated, as you can see, more and more dopamine neurotransmitter is released. Okay, dopamine is a neurotransmitter. I can show you in this figure also. As you can see, this is the ventral tegmental area. It has projection of neurons to this nucleus accumbens area, right? Here I showed you. So you see that dopamines are released. When more and more dopamines are released, the person feels good. So it when it feels, produces euphoria, okay, feeling of pleasure. So then they want to take more and more substances, and it lead to abuse. So what about then where this receptor comes from? Brain nicotinic acetylcholine receptor. These receptors could be located in the ventral tegmental area or near the nucleus accumbens. Okay, so as you can see, the pink one, this nicotine, like when someone smokes cigarette, right? So nicotine can enter into our brain. So this nicotine can bind to these receptors and cause release of dopamine. So our investigation was to actually how can we block this nicotine binding. If we can block the nicotine binding, dopamine release will decrease. If the dopamine release decreases, then the pleasurable sensation or euphoria will decrease. So the addictive substance will not produce much addiction, right? Or pleasurable feelings. So we were trying to figure out which drugs can actually help with this. So it was just briefly, I wanted to give you some idea what type of research we have been doing. So then what happened in third year, we had some more, few more courseworks left, and I have been doing a lot of research in full swing, and then I have to defend my dissertation proposal. So I have to I had to come up with a proposal, said this is the thing I'm gonna study. So based on my work so far, and then we had a dissertation committee, which this committee have to approve my proposals. Okay, so these are the things I wanted to present or investigate, and then they approve it, or they may give some suggestions to improve. So then I also presented one poster on third year. On the fourth year, I found that I developed new techniques. So because so far the techniques I had been using, so those were not enough for giving me the answers to my questions. So that's why I have to come up with new analytical techniques or establish new assays or different types of experiments in the lab so that I can answer the questions. So it led to more research, and I published one more paper and presented two posters in national conferences. And then in the fifth year, that was my last year. So I started, I actually wrapped up most of my work. Then my supervisor gave me some new projects so that whether any new avenues can be found. But most of my research work was almost completed by fifth year. So then I submitted my dissertation. So it's like about 200-page big dissertation, so which contains all the information, data, research I have done so far. And also during fifth year, I have been working on 4 more manuscripts, and they were published eventually. So, and also I have been applying for jobs to look for new jobs to get somewhere. And by 2014, that's the fifth year, I got graduated from that school, South Dakota, right? So that was the journey I had. So the outcome was I got a PhD degree, I got 6 publications, and also some people nominated me, some other students nominated me as a graduate student of the year. And also I received, I applied to many places, but I received 4 to 5 interviews. And finally I ended up with 2 job offers. So usually when you do PhD, so the next step could be a postdoctoral fellowship. Okay, so like doing your more research in another institution. But in my case, I had like one postdoctoral fellowship offer, and another offer was a faculty position. Since I had experience as a faculty, so I chose the faculty position. Okay, so I thought that if I do a postdoc now, again after postdoc, I'll be again looking for a faculty position. So since I already have a faculty job offer, so I opted to do that. So then from South Dakota, I moved to Hampton University. Okay, it's in Virginia. So if you know, this Hampton University is one of the historically Black colleges and universities, or HBCUs. And as you can see, like in this figure, you can see that probably you may not see me. I am just back in the behind, but these are my wonderful students. I still remember them. So we had a very diverse group of students. And then in Hampton University, I was working there for 5 years. I was teaching in a school of pharmacy. So all my students are doctor of pharmacy, like PhD students. And I don't know, maybe they liked me or not. So they gave me a lot of awards. My students gave me a lot of teaching awards. So as you can see in this figure, those are the awards I just put. So that was a good time. So when I moved to Hampton University, I tried to do some of my research. So, but those research I have been actually for that type of research, the facility was not really available in Hampton, so I had to collaborate. So I collaborated with one faculty in Virginia Commonwealth University, which was a nearby city in Richmond. So with that collaboration, I also did some collaborative research. And then in 2019, I left Hampton and moved to University of Illinois, my current workplace, University of Illinois College of Medicine. Okay, so here from 2019, I'm here. So as you can see, I have been just moving away from Midwest, going to East Coast, and then again coming back to Midwest. Okay, so now I'm still shoveling snows. And since I have been talking about my PhD in pharmacology, some of you may ask, what is pharmacology? I have never heard of this thing. So pharmacology is something that you have to study if you are in a health professional education. Okay, so for example, if you get admitted in an MD program, if you get admitted in a PharmD program, so they are all even a nursing program. There you have to study pharmacology. Pharmacology is a study of drugs. Okay, so like medications, treatment, the pharmacotherapy. So here we discuss how the drug works and what are the bad effects of the drug, like side effects of the drug, and also if this drug will actually cause the other drug to not act, right? So drug interaction, and when you cannot give this drug to someone, what are the contraindication, and when you can give this drug correctly. Okay, so what's the therapeutic indication? So all these things we discuss in pharmacology, right? So and so for beginners, like if you have no idea about pharmacology, I have created a website for this. It's called pharmacology.com. So here's the address. So if you go there, there are some basic pharmacology videos where you can see by yourself, and then you can learn about it, actually what pharmacology talks about, what it deals with, right? Some of this basic information is there. So you can go and find the answer by yourself. And then, so since I have moved to UIC, so what happened that here my role has changed more into a medical educator. So in this role, my actually goal here is to do more curricular innovation, because I do most of my focus in teaching and medical education related research. Okay, so that's why I have been working on curricular innovation type of research here. So what I did, so as you can see, this is a one type of cartoon, but this cartoon was developed. We are trying to explain how drug works in like we are trying to explain some of the drugs which are like working on heart, right? So with some animation video. So this is a part of the animation video, and also this animation video we want to use it in a virtual reality setting. So you can see this guy is wearing a VR headset. So we have a VR lab here, a virtual reality lab here. So where we are making some VR modules, so the students can go there. So most of the time they use it for learning anatomy, the medical students, but my goal is to introduce virtual reality for pharmacology education also. So we have I have received some funding for that, so that's why we are working on this project. So this is a interesting idea for us. Then other research interest for me are assessment. Assessment is the test or exams. So how can we improve the quality of the test or exams? So those are some of the research questions we have been working on. So we have found that, like, for example, if there are some questions that are like flawed items, there are some mistakes which are like technical, or sometimes the mistakes are something like that, though these contents are not really appropriate for the level of the students. Sometimes the clinical vignette or the case question that was given, the case was not really very clear. So in those cases, the students struggle, right? So although they may have studied, they couldn't perform well in the test because the question was written poorly. So that is one of my research area. So currently I've been working on. The third area I have been working on is diversity, equity, and inclusion. So this is a new area where I have been looking at our curriculum, especially the pharmacology curriculum, whether there is any problem with the health equity. Okay, so we have been found because if you look at the medical curriculum, you will see that there are some places where uh, there are some issues where we have to actually correct some of the equity or inclusion issues. There are some racial bias in some medical guidelines. Okay, so sometimes in some of the medical guidelines or some of the like treatment guidelines, race have been equated to genetics, which is not right. Race is not a proxy for genetics. Okay, so that's why. So those are some critical issues in medical field and also in our curriculum. So those are the things I have been working on to just find in our curriculum and then fix and revise those issues. So far I have been talking about my research, and let's talk a little bit about actually what my role entails as a educator, right? As a pharmacology educator, since I completed my PhD, I have been mostly working as an educator. I have been teaching, right? So I don't only teach, I have also other buckets to fill. So for every faculty, we have actually 3 buckets to fill. One is teaching, one is research, another is service. For teaching, it's self-explanatory. You know, we teach with the students, and for research, uh, I also explained some of the research we did. And for service, it could be like mentoring the students. We also do like reviewing journal articles, and also sometimes we review grant articles. We serve in committees, like different committees. I also serve in different admission panels, like student admission panels. And also like I have to do a lot of like search committee, different, we have to recruit someone, then we have to serve in those areas, right? Different areas like national, local, departmental, different service we have to involve in. So all these 3 things we have to manage at the same time. And I would say that I had the experience of working in pharmacy school and medical school. So I can give you some ideas, as probably some of you have been thinking about pursuing either pharmacy school or medical school. So I can tell you about some of the similarities. So in case of similarities, you can know that both of like health science education professions, and both of them are actually very rigorous program. For pharmacy school, probably you have to finish a pre-pharmacy for 2 to 3 years. Then in the pharmacy school, you have to spend at least 4 years. And some of them have accelerated program where you can finish early, but still it's a lot. And after finishing your pharmacy program, you have to actually appear in the board exam, which is known as NAPLEX, right? So similar to medical school, they also have like, they come into medical school. Most of the medical school actually admit students who already have completed a 4-year degree, like a bachelor degree. So then when the students come here, so they have to study for another 4 years, which is MD program. So this in this MD program, within first 2 years, usually in the second year, they have to appear in step 1 exam, right? Step one is the one of the board exams, right? Which is like USMLE step 1 exam. And then in the third year, they have to go for step 2 exam. Third year in medical school is basically clinical rotation. So they do rotations in different hospitals and different departments. And in the fourth year, it includes sub-internship and also the electives courses, right? So after fourth year, they are looking for getting residency. Pharmacy school also, if the students are interested, they can also go for residency in another place, right? So there is also possibility. Both of them are doctoral degrees, so these are the similarities. The differences, I can say, like what we teach in pharmacy school and medical school. In pharmacy school, I remember I used to teach a lot of pharmacology, but in medical school, we teach lesser pharmacology, okay? In medical school, they study a lot of pathology, but in pharmacy school, we didn't actually talk about pathology. We talked about pathophysiology. So then in medical school, they also do a lot of anatomy, okay? So like cadaver dissection, and so also these are like anatomy plays a very big role, but in pharmacy schools, we go very light on anatomy learning, okay? So those are the different aspects of curriculum that they are different. And so it's based on their role, right? The pharmacist role is they will be dispensing the drug, right? They have to know very well about the drugs. But the role of a physician is actually to diagnose the disease. So for that's why their curriculums are not same. So that, but both of them have to study pharmacology, but pharmacists have to study a lot of pharmacology compared to medical doctors, okay? And then about the career, I can say that for pharmacy and medical school, if you compare the career, both of them have a very bright future. But I found that recently for pharmacy schools, they can work, actually the pharmacy graduate, the doctor of pharmacy, they can work in retail pharmacy or in hospital pharmacy. And recently I am here seeing a trend for pharmacists to move into industry also, pharmaceutical industry. So one thing we found that like there have been a lot of pharmacy schools in USA. So currently the retail pharmacy is a little bit saturated. So that's why it's a little bit it's difficult to get a job in retail pharmacy, or if you get a job, the salary is probably not that. Earlier it was maybe higher compared to now. So then for medical schools, I found that the students, they after MD degree, usually they do residency. Most of the students do residency for say 4 to 5 years. So when they're in a residency, doing residency, they're still in training, right? So by the time after they finish residency and they specialize into something, they easily getting jobs. So for medical school, I found that they have still there are a lot of need for doctors or physicians. So it's a good, this career wise, this is also a good choice if you are willing to commit that much time into this profession, okay? So this is my last slide. I will just say I have some tips for you guys for pre-health students, that I have only 3 tips here. And also these tips are also really not mine. I borrowed it from other people. So like Stephen Covey, so probably have heard his name, that he has a book called, I think, 7 Habits for Successful People or something. So here he mentioned that begin with the end in mind. So when you are trying to actually start a project or something, so just think what's the outcome you're looking for, okay? Like for example, when I was studying my PhD, So my outcome was definitely I want a PhD plus I want some publications, right? So otherwise, if it will not be good. So that's why. So when you are doing pursuing a MD degree or some other doctoral degree or some other education, so just you should have an end in mind. So what you actually want to achieve here. So then it will be useful for you. And then another I borrowed from Thomas Edison. Success is 10% inspiration and 90% perspiration. There is no actually alternative for hard work. We have to do a lot of hard work. So that's why 90% is like sweating. You have to put a lot of hard work to get something. And the third one, I borrowed it from Richard Branson. So he is the entrepreneur. So he was saying that communication is the most important skill for leaders. But I think communication is actually most important skill for in any profession. So if you this is the one of the biggest areas where I see our students are lacking. I'm not saying I'm a very good communicator, but I found that actually the students we have, like our pharmacy or med students, they have to actually interact with people, right? So you are patient facing. So you are facing your patients and you have to talk with your patients. If you cannot communicate well with your patients, then it's a problem. All of your knowledge will not be useful, right? If you cannot help your patient, if you cannot communicate properly. Okay, so that's why uh, some of the students I find that they're very brilliant, they know their stuff, they have very good knowledge, the bookish knowledge, but when it comes to talking to a patient or like communicating with the patient or explaining something, then they struggle a lot. So that's why this is the something you should work on. This is not only oral communication, you should also work on your writing. Writing is also a communication part. Okay, so you have to know how to write well. So if you know to talk well and write well in a professional setting, these things will take you actually a long way. Okay, so that's the thing I just wanted to share. I think that was, I thought I was given 45 minutes or something. So I think my time is up. So now I'm opening it for question and answer.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We'll go ahead. I will be leading the question and answer portion of today's virtual shadowing session. So students joining us live, if you have any questions, I encourage you to ask them now. This is a wonderful opportunity for you to get your questions answered. Go ahead, Am.
Yeah, I think I can see a question in the chat.
Yes.
That if I'm currently involved in any research. Yes. So I think I showed you, right? My research has shifted. Earlier, I used to do bench research. Now my research has shifted to medical education research. Okay. So this research includes like curricular innovation, making new curriculum with some innovative angles, like using virtual reality, right? So, and how, whether these virtual reality animations or these type of things are actually helpful for the students. So that is my current research. Another research I mentioned was like assessment and diversity, equity, inclusion, right? So those are the other research we have been talking about. I think, okay, so there is another question I can see. What's the hardest part of your job? Yeah, the hardest part, yeah, it's a good question. The hardest part of my job, currently, I can tell you that the hardest part is like, again, you can say collaboration and communication. That is the hardest part, because I work in a place where we have 3 campuses. Okay, so our college of medicine have 1 campus in Chicago, 1 campus in Rockford, and 1 campus in Peoria. These are in 3 different cities. But whatever we are teaching, there we have to make things the same for all campuses, right? So that's why there is a lot of collaboration and communication. And also I work as one of the college-wide leader for one of our block, the organ system block, which is a endocrine and reproductive block. So that's why there is a lot of communications and a lot of meetings, and still sometimes we miss some small things, right? So those are the hardest things to actually communicate with so many people, because uh, probably in our curriculum about 100 people are involved. So many stakeholders are there. So that's why sometimes it becomes difficult. It's one of the hardest thing to manage and communicate properly with all these people. Okay, I think then there is another question. What is your favorite part of your job? My favorite part of my job is actually when I get the time to spend time with my students. Okay, so that's why when I go to the class, those are the times actually I enjoy the most. Spending time with the students, discussing with them, talking with them, and even outside the class. So that's the most of the, because the young generation, they actually stimulate me. They have a lot of energy, so they can excite me. So I get a lot of good discussion with them. So that's why when you invited me like pre-health shadowing, so I got excited. So yeah, this is another opportunity to actually connect with our students also, right? Then here's another question. What is your favorite part of your job? I think I just talked about, yeah. And then the next question is, what other types of healthcare workers do you collaborate with on a regular basis? Yeah, healthcare workers currently, since I work in a medical school and we have an integrated curriculum. So in this integrated curriculum, we have to actually teach, integrate our basic science with clinical science. So that's why on a regular basis, I have been actually working with clinicians, because, for example, whatever basic science teaching we have been preparing, we try to communicate it with the clinicians, and they give us some feedback that, okay, so this is appropriate or not, or whether we have to change something. So, and also some of our teachings are case-based and also team-based learning. So in both cases, we have to integrate with clinicians. So we have to work closely with our physicians in different specialties. So they give us some guidance, and also they work with us side by side. Yeah. So that's why. And then the next question was, did you ever consider any other medical field? Yeah, actually, I was trained as a pharmacist, so I think I'm happy with being a pharmacist, but I don't mind to go beyond my comfort zone. So that's why when I was actually going to a pharmacology PhD, I didn't do any pharmacology research before. So, but still I went beyond my comfort zone, right? So that's why. And also I think I like all the medical fields, but since I cannot learn a lot of things at this stage, so my focus is currently pharmacology. So I think there is a question about what's the name of my blog. So I think I showed you. I can just also type it. It's pharmacology.com. So here you can also see, yeah, this one. Yeah, if you go to this website, you will see all these resources. These are like for basic learning of pharmacology. Yeah, any other question? Okay, so another question is, how would you say the education differed here than in Bangladesh? Yeah, one thing that is definitely different is the expense. The higher education in United States is very high, so compared to Bangladesh. So which I find really astonishing, because in Bangladesh, the education I received, it was almost like free. So although I studied in the biggest university of Bangladesh, it was subsidized by the government. So like most of the, I think the cost was not put on the students. But here I see that especially in higher education. So when someone is going to undergrad or graduate studies, most of the undergrads, you have to pay a lot of tuition fees. So even in public universities, right? So that's why that's one of the biggest thing I found, which was really striking. And did you ever face doubts or not have support from your family or friends while on your path to becoming a pharmacy major? A very interesting question. No, actually, my family actually encouraged me to apply to a pharmacy program. So my mother and my father, so they actually encouraged me. Before they encouraged me, I was not really actually sure that what is pharmacy, what will I do after studying pharmacy. I was really in doubt, but they have been encouraging me. Yeah, so another question is, how do you balance work and personal life? So this is a tough question, like especially when during COVID, when everything got merged, right? When we started working remotely, so then there is no most of the time distinction between what is my work time and what is my personal time. So yeah, I try to actually balance my work and life. Usually try to separate my weekends for my family, so that most of the weekdays probably I keep mostly for work. And I don't know whether you know that usually the faculty, they even they're at home, they're working. So I mean, even maybe at night, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, still probably we are working on tweaking or optimizing our presentation, right? So most of the time, even on vacation, probably because we love our work, right? So that's why we will come back and work on it. So sometimes it becomes difficult. So to make this balance, but still I try to make some time for my family during the weekends. And then another question was, do you have any ideas of how practicing medicine might change in future? Yeah, definitely everything can change. So one thing I can say for pharmacology is that definitely you have to learn about more and more biological type of drugs, because those are the currently area that's coming up. New and new monoclonal antibody type of drugs are being discovered or investigated. So in future you will know more, right? So when I was a pharmacy student, so in our case, our pharmacology book was like this big. Currently the pharmacology book has become this big, right? So because new drugs have been discovered, so almost tripled or quadrupled, so we have to learn more drugs. So it's difficult to keep up with this knowledge, right? Because our knowledge base is expanding so much. So that is one thing we are seeing. So one of the things we can say that the way medical science is actually at the pace is moving up. So more and more we have to probably know more and more. So we have to be ready to learn more and more. And all the medical students usually they say that when during medical school they feel like they are drinking water from a what they call it. It's like fire hose. It's like a lot of information is coming. There is not much time to drink. So something like that happens. So you have to be prepared for it. So that's why time management will be very important. Okay, so then what else we have here? How and why did you decide to enter this career? Yeah, for this career, like if you are saying my academic career, because I love teaching. So I told you, right? So to to finish my master's, I found that working in pharmaceutical industry was very challenging because they require a lot of time and work-life balance was not very good. So I moved to academia where I have some downtime so that I can work on my other projects. So during that time, when I started to teach, I really loved that job. I found that this is actually the job I want to do. Okay, so I don't mind doing this job like over time also. So that's why, since I love it, I found passion here. So that's why I actually decided to continue this teaching career. And then, how did COVID affect your job? Yeah, COVID actually, what COVID did is like it forced me to do more and more like remote teaching. So I have been teaching a lot in Zoom, using Zoom. So because a lot of in-person classes have been canceled, and then I have to make a lot of video recordings, a lot of asynchronous sessions, like which will be recorded. So those are the things I have to do a lot. So that's why it changed in my job a little bit. So, but still, some days I work remotely from home, but some days I come to the office and then work from here. So it's like I'm now going to a hybrid mode. So currently, so, and then what are some important skills required for my work? Yeah, the important skills that are required for if you want to be an academician, like a faculty in a medical school or pharmacy school, definitely first is your credential. So you have to have the proper credential or proper degree. The second thing is like you have to have a good communication skill, right? So you have to explain those difficult things in an easy way. And also you have to have good teamwork and also problem solving skills. Okay, so because most of the time you have to collaborate with others, so you have to be a team member. Okay, so you have to know how to work in teams, how to work with others well. And then I think yeah, these are the important skills I would say you need for almost any work right nowadays. And then, do you have any podcast recommendations, and how is ethics involved in your job? Okay, so for podcast, actually, I can't recommend any podcast currently. It's not top of my head, but also the how is ethics involved in your job? So for ethics part, I think yeah, something. We actually, for pharmacology, I think I mentioned a little bit about diversity, equity, inclusion, and the health equities. So those are the things sometimes we come across some ethical issues, but most of the time we don't uh, deal with ethics much. Where we have one subject like health, illness, and society. In that thread, we discuss a lot of ethics in medical field. So that is mostly from that angle we discuss the ethics in the profession, in the medical profession. But for pharmacology or in my work, we don't deal that much with ethics because it's almost like less gray area. Okay, so to be honest with you, ethics comes where when we have gray areas, whether it's black or white, you're not sure. And then any book recommendations for students who want to look into your field? Yeah, sure. I mean, if you want to know more about pharmacology, there are a lot of pharmacology books available. I think I would say that before going into books, probably you can search YouTube. Okay, so they have some good introductory videos on YouTube. So where you can see about if you want to know about pharmacology. But if you want to read books, I would say that it would be difficult to get started with because these are not like easy reading. You know, these are not like fiction books, right? They are not really easy to understand without help with others because it includes a lot of medical terminologies. So sometimes they are not really easy to start for a beginner. Okay, so then as someone in pharmacology, you also studied chemistry. Do you have any recommendation on how to better understand chemistry? Yeah, definitely. Yeah, chemistry is very important part because in pharmaceutical sciences, we teach basically three things: medicinal chemistry, pharmacology, and pharmaceutics. Right? Pharmaceutics deals with the formulation, development, compounding, those parts. But for chemistry, I would say that if you want to understand better understand chemistry, probably you have to think about actually what's the purpose of learning. So you have to have, as I said, you should have the end in goal in mind. So what's the end? Because, for example, if you look at chemistry just to understand some like sequence or some formula, or you're trying to memorize it, then it becomes a chore. But if you know that, okay, so why I'm learning it, okay, so then it will help you. For example, maybe I am learning it because it will help me to understand the mechanism of the drug, right? So maybe it will help me to develop a new drug. So if I know this reaction, this type of reactions, then it will help me to come up with a new drug idea. For example, if I know how to add a phosphate group in this molecule, or if I know how to remove a chloride group from this molecule, this type of knowledge will help me in future to develop something new, right? So if you have this type of purpose in your mind, then probably learning chemistry will become interesting. Otherwise, it's difficult, right? If you will not find an interest learning all these chemical reactions. Okay, then do you think if you accepted the scholarship from Japan, you would be doing more advanced work? So for the work which was in Japan, so it was related to a different work, which was like nanoparticles, drug delivery, that type of research. And I don't think it's like about advanced work is, I'm not sure because I have not gone there, right? So I have not seen what they have been doing. But from my experience, I have found that most of the people who have been working in those labs, they're after finishing their work there, they're moving to United States for more doing further research or doing advanced research. So I would say that I have rarely seen anyone from United States to move to Japan to advance their research. So I think ultimately we are seeing more and more people moving to United States for doing advanced type of research. So then another question is, if you could go back, what would you have done differently? Yeah, it's a good question. So I wanted to actually talk about it, that, for example, during when I was looking for like my PhD program, so I have mentioned you here that I have been actually looking for PhD in pharmaceutical sciences. Those are the programs I have been looking for, right? So if I could have gone back that time, I could have actually looked at it in a different way, because PhD in pharmaceutical sciences are actually found in only in a School of Pharmacy or College of Pharmacy, in those programs. But pharmacology, the thing I am now currently studying, a lot of pharmacology research is done in medical schools. During applying to PhD programs, I actually didn't look at medical schools. So that's why, if I have been thinking during that time, if I was aware of that, so I would have applied to medical schools also, so to do research, PhD in pharmacology. So they have a specific PhD for pharmacology, or even they have PhD in molecular biology, right? So something that also looks at drug development, discovery, all these things. So yeah, that's one thing. And I think, yeah, I don't see any more questions. Anything else? Who do you look up to? Okay, so there are a lot of role models, so in our field. So for me, I have met actually, yeah, this is one thing I would say that another this is a good question, since I wanted to mention it about mentorship. You should actually find mentors to advance in your profession. Okay, so I look up to my mentors, because mentors, they are my role models. So I don't have only one mentor, so I find multiple mentors. By mentors, I mean that these are the people who actually guide me, right? So they will give me advice, so I trust them. They give me advice, and they know my weaknesses, they know what are my limitations. Then they actually show me that, okay, this is the way you can improve yourself. And because those people, I actually took them as a mentor during my career progression, so they have been successful in their life, in their profession, right? So for example, while I was trying to get a job, like after my PhD, right? So after my at the end of my PhD, I was looking for, say, academic jobs. So I have been looking for mentors who are working as like a faculty, right? Who can actually help me to become or successful faculty. So I got a lot of good advice from them. So because they are so successful in their career, so they gave me a lot of good advice, and they actually told me, so what are the expectations? So when you are applying for a job, so what they're actually expecting from you in your role. So that's why I will tell you also, when you are trying to apply for a med school or some other school, try to talk with the senior students, because they have gone through that road. They are going through it, so they can tell you what's the expectation, and they can be your mentor. So you can look up to them. Okay, so those are the things. I think this is a good point. So was there anything you didn't expect going into pharmacology? Yeah, so one thing I didn't expect going into pharmacology, I would say that I used to work with animals, okay, especially mouse. So in pharmacology research, I have to do a lot of mouse research, and I have to take care of those mouse 7 days a week. So those are the things I didn't expect. So I have to go to the like animal facility where the animals are kept, which was also separate from my research lab. So I have to go there even in winter, even in summer, whatever. Every 7 days a week, I have to just go there and check them whether they're doing well or not. So yeah, those are the things I didn't expect. And then how did you look? How did you look for mentors? I have tried reaching out, but a lot of times do not receive any response. Yeah, it's a good question. So I would suggest you, so like, it's better to have mentorship with someone who we have personally met. Okay, so if you give cold calls or like emails or something, probably you'll be getting ignored. So if you have some personal connections, so if you know someone personally, so one thing easily you can start with is with your you can ask your faculty advisors or your learning specialist, whoever is in your college. So then talk to them that I'm interested in that profession, do you know someone who you can connect me with? Okay, so that is one way to do. Another way to do is try to go to conferences. So, okay, so there are different conferences in your areas, in your field. Okay, so just try to go to these conferences at least. Probably, I believe in your final years, you have some opportunity to do some capstone type of research and present your poster somewhere. So in those conferences, try to go there, go those places and try to meet people. Okay, so try to meet someone, some type of conversations. So you have to be a little bit proactive. So just talk to those people, and probably you will find someone who has similar interest like you. Okay, so that way I actually found I found my mentors mostly from going to conferences. And then I think, what was the another question? What is the lifestyle of your career? Okay, so my lifestyle as I told you, I was blamed by my family that I work non-stop. I always work. I'm always in working. So they think, but yeah. So, but this is I do it because I like it. Okay, so it's not like that. We have to have the similar lifestyle. So that's why. But you have to just enjoy whatever you are doing. You have to enjoy. So if you enjoy, say for example, making art, or you are a creative person, so you will be happy with some creative profession, right? So something like that. So and then another question is, why are mice used compared to other animals? Do you ever have human participants? Yeah, for pharmacology, so we used mice compared to other animals. Like, one of the advantage of using mice was that those are grown in lab. They're easy to reproduce in the lab. You can get a lot of mice, you can study, and since they are mammals, and you can also test your drug on the mice and get some idea how the drug will be working in other mammals, right? And they are also not very expensive to breed and also to keep. Another advantage of using mice is you can genetically modify different genes of the mice. So you can genetically knock out some of the genes and study whether that gene was responsible for a particular disease, or whether knocking out some of the genes actually will be helping you to treat, target some drug. So there are some advantages of using mice. And another question was, do you ever have human participants? No, we didn't tested our drug because if the drug is new, you cannot test in human. Okay, so the drug has to be, actually you can test in the human because in clinical trial, because I was not doing clinical trial, I was doing investigational drugs, like new drugs which has not been used in clinic before, right? So that's why we didn't work on human participants. So what's the most exciting experience in pharmacology? Okay, so for me, I can say that the exciting experience was like when you see that whatever study you have been doing, so they get, I would say, I was most excited when I would say that when my first publication was done in second year, when I was in year 2 of my PhD. So that excited me very much. And then, okay, so now I'm a scientist, right? So that's the excitement. So when you see that you learn something. And for me personally, actually, what excites me is still not only pharmacology in anything. So to learn something new. Okay, so I love to learn new things. So that's why whenever I learn something new, discover something new, stumble into something new, it excites me. So this is something exciting, I find always. So you have to have the passion for learning new things also, so to become a scientist. And also you have to be non-biased. Okay, so don't be biased that this is my hypothesis and I'm expecting this result and this should happen, but it doesn't always happen, right? You may find that you were wrong, or maybe you are partially correct. So the right answer is actually in the other half of the something that you didn't study yet. So those are the things that will actually excite you, that okay, so there are other possibilities and which none of us have already thought about. I am actually breaking through a new discovery which nobody has actually shown before. I am the first time actually bringing this thing into the world. So those are the things that actually are exciting. Okay, next is, how common is it for someone in your specialty to deal with malpractice? Malpractice, yeah, it's not very common, but it has been found that some in case of research integrity. So sometimes some people, when they publish their work, or they give a lot of false information, right, to make the data look good. data to make the data look strong. They falsify their data, though they change their, say, images, Western blot or microscopic images. So those are like not very common, but still it's another thing. This is one type of malpractice. Some researchers may falsify their data, and based on their data, when you do try to replicate the research and try to build something on it, you see that your work is not going in the right direction. Then you get frustrated, right? Whether it's my fault or whether the research I have been basing my work there is their fault. Okay, then can you speak to the medical biases hindering your profession in any way? Okay, how do you go about dismantling these biases in favor of sound truth? Okay, so some of the medical biases, I think I gave you some idea, right? We have been looking at from diversity, equity, inclusion issues in the curriculum. So what happened that in some of the cases, if you look at the medical guidelines, especially for example, for say cardiovascular disease, how do you treat a patient? So when you are looking at the patient, they will give you criteria like if the patient is black, do this way. If the patient is non-black, you have to treat other way. So those type of things are, I can see these are like racial bias. Okay, so the studies, they are actually not backed up by sound studies. So that's why we have to make sure that our new physicians or new healthcare professionals, they know about these intricate issues. Actually, these guidelines were based on something which is not right. Sometimes we say glomerular filtration rate, we calculate based on the race, which is not really appropriate, right? So those type of things, since race has nothing to do with genetics, right? Human genetics are same. Race is something, is a social construct, right? Because some people may not respond to a particular drug probably due to their socio-economic context, okay? So because their socio-economic background. So, but if you think that this is based on race, then we're misinterpreting data. So that's the one of the issues. I can say that there's the medical professions, sometimes they're struggling, but most of them are aware of it. So one of the thing we know that one of the drug, Food and Drug Administration approved BiDil, the isosorbide dinitrate and hydrolazine. This is one of the drugs we use for cardiovascular disease like heart failure, right? So this drug, they say that this drug works well or better in black patients. So FDA approved it mostly for black patients. But if you look carefully at their data, so you how they approved it, you will find that there was no control. So they didn't do control as with white patients, right? So they did only the study on black patients, and those black patients were self-identifying themselves. So when someone self-identified themselves as a black, so sometimes there is a question, and also how they are actually trying to connect this, because race for a white person and a black person, why it will be different. Their explanation was really funny. So they are saying that black patients have some related salt differences compared to white persons, which is not really true. So that's why, I mean, some of these things, when it comes up, we find that we have to address right on in the curriculum. Okay, I think another question is, so how do you go about dismantling these biases? Yeah, so in the classroom, actually, we try to explain what's the background when you see this type of biases coming in the guidelines, in the clinical guidelines, why these biases happen. We try to explain to the students, and then we tell them that although the guidelines are saying this, the truth, you should know the whole truth. So we just try to explain and provide more explanation. Okay, so what is the most interesting drug in your opinion? Okay, so interesting drug. This is an interesting question. I never thought about it. So which drug is interesting? So yeah, I would say that this is something, all the drugs I would say are you have to be used with caution. Okay, so the less drug you use, you would be better. So don't think a drug is very interesting, but yeah, for me, I can say caffeine is the most interesting drug for me because it's in the coffee and we need coffee, and caffeine is actually a diuretic. It increases urination. Okay, so that's why I'm telling it it's a drug. So, and then did you have to shadow in order to become a pharmacology major? No, for me, for becoming a pharmacology major, there was no shadowing, especially for medical students when they're applying for our med schools. So it's not like that we actually, is it a mandatory? I mean, during admission interview, they say that they have shadowed, or they write in their statements that they have shadowed in some physicians, so which ultimately actually shows that their interest in this profession, right? So whether they actually know that what they're getting into, like when you try to become a physician, then you know that, I mean, it's a long journey, right? For example, after completing your bachelor's, you will be 4 years in a med school, and then you'll be doing residency for again maybe another 3 to 5, 6 years. It will be a long journey for you. So that's why they want to see whether you are committed or not. So that's why you have some idea that, okay, I shadowed some physicians, so I know what it involves. For me, I didn't have to shadow. For us, for a PhD program, they actually look whether you have any research experience. So that's why I had some research experience since I did some master's degree, and it helped. And I had some publications, so that's why it helped. Okay. Any other question?
Awesome. So with that, we're going to be doing our wrap-up presentation. Thank you so much for answering all these questions. So let's go ahead and share screen. Okay. So let's go ahead and reflect on our shadowing session, what brought you guys to this session today, and what are 3 major takeaways you got from this presentation, as well as what do you want to learn more about? You can put that in the chat. And once again, if you would like some more recognition, you can go ahead and write articles, reflections, reviews, and success stories and submit them to prehealthshadowing.com/blog submissions. And we are also taking in student volunteers and team members, so you can go ahead and apply using our website, prehealthshadowing.com, medical shadowing/volunteer, or contact/join our team. Once again, we are a nonprofit that runs solely off of our amazing volunteer times and our donations that we receive, so we would highly appreciate if you can donate using this QR code over here. Now that we've come to the end of our shadowing session, you can earn a digital certificate for attending. You can take our post-shadowing assessment, which is on our website. It is 10 questions, multiple choice quiz based on the presentation. You have 2 chances to pass with a 70% or higher for verification of your virtual shadowing quizzes. Quizzes are open indefinitely for your convenience. And if you missed any part of our session today, you can go ahead and visit our YouTube channel at Pre-Health Shadowing to watch any of our previous sessions for free. Be sure to also catch up on our sessions every week using our website, as well as signing up to be on our email list. See you guys next time. Thank you so much for joining. If you have any questions, feel free to stick around.